your life and my life is going to have this same kind of crazy ups and downs, right? And it's really, some of them are going to be incredible successes, some of them are going to be challenges, some of them are going to be total screw-ups, right? And it's really how you handle them. You know, like, I'm just thinking about all the decisions, you know, where you're going to go to school, you know, who you're going to marry. Well, in this case, I didn't have to worry about this kind of the issue, be a wife, but like, should you get a tattoo of your comedy in a place you can't show people? Well, actually it was a henna tattoo, and I just did it to make my oldest son mad. But that was kind of cool. But sometimes, you know, things happen that you just can't control, and it's really about what you do with the failures and what you do with the success. So what I found, kind of going back onto the theme of play, is that as I was coming back from trying to figure out, you know, this very hard place, one of the things that I found is that by helping other people, I found myself, you know, being able to kind of get back into the world. So one of the weird things that I'm a member of, I went to MIT, and which is in Boston, tech school, and I belong to a group called Vomit, Vermont's own MIT club. Okay, you know what? I found that when you can laugh at a joke in another language, that's pretty cool. So we got this request from Vomit, you know, how do we build, you know, they asked us to build a device for scaring children. And I thought, that is a very good use of an engineering, to make something, a 7-meter tall robot that makes a child wet their pants. I thought it was a very good thing to do with an engineering education. So I found that, and I have done so many projects now by reaching out and working with children. I'm guessing, whatever your companies are, you probably have some outreach programs. I saw that there was going to be STEM outreach in this thing. Helping other people is not only, yeah, sure, it makes you feel good, but it's also a really good way to meet with people. So sometimes teams, people who can't stand each other at work, love each other when you're helping somebody else. So that's very good. Sometimes you meet people that you've never known before. Sometimes you get, you know, I work a lot with college students, like on projects like this. What a great way of opening your mind and getting out of different ways, you know, getting new ways of thinking. You know, on that same point, another rule of play, not only do you have to help people, but sometimes you just have to kind of embrace the ridiculous. Sometimes there's no better way to get yourself out of a bad mode of thinking than to do something crazy. So I started building all these things for people. And do you know Ben and Jerry's? Do you have Ben and Jerry's ice cream? So Ben and Jerry are both friends of mine. And Ben, who I'm going canoeing with when I get back, is he goes to a thing called Burning Man. Do you know what that is? It's a bunch of naked hippies in the desert of Nevada. But it's also an incredible place for technology. So we decided, we had $40,000 and 40 days, and we made this thing. It was everything I made is 7 meters tall. 7 meter tall, yeah, a diesel-powered carousel thing for carrying half-naked hippies across the desert. It was incredible, but again, we worked with students, worked with people in different industries, and it was during one of those really hard times of my life. And while I would go work my butt off at work during the day, I would come back and work my butt off on this. And I remember being in the desert at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to fix these friggin' lights, hanging upside down, having to talk about, you know, diesel hydraulics with some random people walking by, and I was like, this is what's really cool about my life, is that you've got to just kind of sometimes embrace the ridiculous, go try something new. Now, just kind of a story arc thing, these lights, there were 20 meters of these lights on each of these, and this was, no, it was a couple years ago. And, you know, they were pretty problematic. Now you see them everywhere. They're like, you know, this kind of thing, these lights. But they weren't always so commonplace. And here's the next rule. So we were talking about embracing the ridiculous. Well, the way that those lights came about is they used to be, you ever see a building that has like almost like a TV screen on the side of it, you know, big thing like that. Well, when they first started coming out, they were only available in China. And I used to go, yes, I still do, but I used to go to China all the time for my work, because that's where a lot of chip people are. And I saw some of this stuff on the side of the building, and so I made the only natural leap, which is you have to make it into a hat. And it turns out that eventually, you know, I put that on everything. You know, all of my kids light up and the big wheels light up and stuff. But the funny thing is, this is one of the rules of playing, is that sometimes you have to ask for help. I found this kid, Xander, who was half my age, literally half my age, twice as smart as me, and he figured out the other 20%. So he took my really nasty code, and he gave me back this beautiful, elegant piece of code that did it. I threw it back at him, and then it just, what happened in the last 5 years is that that code became the basis for the code that everybody uses, and it's like used on these like lights and stuff like that. The funny thing is nobody knows that I had anything to do with it, or the other 100 people who had something to do with it. I was working 33 years at one thing. So every 30 years you should change careers. So I really was trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Well, it turns out that I had been, you know, making things with lights. This is another instrument that I had made. This is a museum floor. I think you can see all of my family here. These connect cameras, and it will follow you around as you walk, etc. Well, it turns out that I started using some of the software I showed to you during the break, but I wanted to make an interactive thing, so you can actually write on it, and you can watch people on it, etc. But I started using IBM's code for this, and I said, wow, this stuff is pretty good. Maybe I could go get a job there. Well, I showed up, and they said, well, what do you know? I didn't even know how to spell IoT. You know, I was like, you know, what was I doing? But I showed them this, and they said, okay, you're hired. This was my resume. It was pretty much the stuff that I had done for fun. So sometimes, whatever your passion is, sometimes you need to put that into your work, because that might be a new path for you. Now, don't worry, I'm finishing up pretty quick, okay? Now, sometimes, though, you have to pull the emergency brake. You know, sometimes you just need to mix it up. I just want to tell you a weird experience. A couple years ago, it was snowing, it's always snowing where I live. I said, you know, I went to Diane, my hippie wife, and I said, beautiful hippie wife. No, I said, I was trying to think of a way of making a career around working with kids, like being, and I said, how can I make my outreach, how can I make that my job? How can I magnify it? And she looked at me, and she stared into my eyes, and she said, I'm cooking. Will you, go out and have some So I went outside with my beer, and she said, go ask the Cosmos. So I said, Cosmos, what do you have? Nothing. But the next day, seriously, this really happened. The next day, I got this call out of the blue from a woman in Hollywood saying, hey, you're on the show. You got to be out here for 2 months, but you can't tell anyone. And I was like, I better have a conversation with my boss. So anyway, I got on the plane, flew out there, was in my little blazer, they drove up, I was gonna shake my hand. They put a, scarf around my face, threw me in the back of the truck, kept me awake for 36 hours, made us watch every Mad Max movie, and then this is what happened. 10 people, dirty, stinking people, 2 beds. So imagine you just met somebody and you're sleeping with them? That's not what I mean. What I mean is, we had to sleep on the floor. The biggest problem was water. Do you know how long you can live without food? You can live a couple weeks. Do you know how long you can live without water? 3 days, yeah, and day 2 isn't very fun. So we had 800 meters away, there was the LA River, which is this green, slimy, goopy thing, and once a week they would clear the road so they could film us, and we would go out and get water. Do you know how much water you need every day? I never thought about it. You need about 1.5 liters. And that's just minimal. And it was just all this weird stuff. So we had to figure out a way of filtering the black, green water. So going back to Boy Scouts, we made filters out of sand. We would get clear, something less stinking water, and then you had to do what? boil it, right? You had to boil it. And we would put it in this thing, and that's how we got our water. We had a bunch of broken cars. We had the generator in a car, alternator. What do you say? How do you say that? Yeah. And we had a gasoline motor, a petrol motor for a lawnmower, and we hooked those together, but we didn't have petrol. So I learned two major lessons from this. One is, don't hide your failures. What happened is we were all, when we started, everybody was like, this is my project, and you would just kind of like hide it from people because you didn't want anybody else to think you were an idiot. And so, of course, the TV could make everybody look like an idiot. And so the problem was, we would try to do things on our own and kind of cover up when something didn't work. We would try to, hide it. But then the TV would show you hiding your mistakes. It was totally stupid. I remember one time when I was trying to make this wood jelly, I had to turn this car over. The car was upside down. And I had figured out this thing with a winch, and it was going to take me a half a day to turn this thing over. And this guy, oh, I forgot to tell you, 2 of our 10 were Croatian. This guy, Vlad, grew up in Zagreb. And this guy, Michael, so he was a petroleum engineer, and he was, Michael was in English we use the word asshole. He was a nice guy. And he came over to me and he goes, Professor, beep, beep, beep. And he would just pick the car up and turn it over. And I was, there I looked like an idiot. So don't hide your failures. My biggest failure was day 3. We were so hot and stinky and dirty, smelly, because it was about 35 degrees. We had been walking in the water, all sleeping in the same beds. It was terrible. And it started raining. So I quickly, all my friends ran outside to catch every drop of water, because we really were always hurting for water. I ran out the back, threw my clothes off, including my knife, so that we thought we had privacy. They were always watching us. And I just could feel the dirt coming off of myself, the stink and everything like that. And I turned around. There was a guy with a $200,000 camera. Dude, and he says, hey man, I picked up that sheet. So, okay. Put it over there. I didn't think about that, because that was day 3 of 59, right? Okay, so went through 59 days, came back to the end, big party afterwards, went back to work, and I was like, now. So I went back to work, kind of tried to explain what had happened, but I hadn't seen the show. Well, I got an invite before the shows came on of the big boss of IBM marketing. He reports to our chair, and he invited me to our headquarters in Armonk. So I drove the 500 kilometers down there. We were supposed to talk for 20 minutes. We talked for an hour and a half. He was asking me about the show. I hadn't seen it, but he was like really excited. So I was like, oh, great. So I'm driving back, because I'm so worried about how are they going to like it, what's it going to be like. I called one of the guys that was in there in the meeting with us, and I was worried because every third word is beep, and he goes, don't worry about it, as long as you get your clothes on. So my wife and I were out there, 3-4 days later actually. It was really room about this size. I'm watching it the last 45 seconds. This is after I pick up the sheet. I was pixelated. I was going, oh my God, my boss has seen this. My kids, my parents, that big boss at IBM. I really thought, how you could just get so scared, oh, if I don't get this code written, or if I don't get that contract, or if I don't do this, or I don't do that, I'm going to put it in a ditch. Whatever life sends you in terms of failure, take that sense of play, bring that back, and find your way to your play. So thank you very much, and enjoy the conference. I really appreciate it.